Welcome, everybody. My name is Janielle Salmon. I know, we're at season 2, episode 9, and I'm not the usual driver you'd usually see for Women Healing Together Talk Truth. But I am here today. My name is Jania, like I would have said before, and I'll be piloting you through this evening's episode of Talk Truth. We have a very special program lined up for you this evening. We are going to talk about getting to know you again. Do you know you? Do you think you know you? Who are you? We're going to be unpacking those questions. First, I must welcome everybody to this evening's show. Welcome to our newcomers. Welcome to our Women Healing Together community. Of course, our community members, our family members, you make this possible every third Wednesday. And so welcome once more to this brand new episode. Perhaps you're new to the channel. In case you didn't know, this channel is specifically for women who want to win at life. So we talk about personal development. We talk about overcoming childhood sexual abuse. We talk about overcoming intimate partner violence. We basically talk about all things women, and we're happy that you have joined us this evening. Now, if you have not done so as yet, I want you to look to the right, just below, you'll see subscribe. Click the word subscribe. Right beside the word subscribe, you'll see a little bell. I want you to click that bell. Once you click that bell, I want you to select all. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we post new content, whenever we go live, you won't miss it. So ensure that you subscribe and that you click the notification bell to the right below this video. Now I'm seeing Nashawn. Nashawn is asking, am I early? No, you're not early. You're just on time. Welcome, Nashawn. We're happy to have you. I would have mentioned to you earlier that we're going to be talking about getting to know you again. Remember, this is your safe space. This is your safe place where we heal together as women. Perhaps you're a man. I don't want you to feel left out. You would have women in your life so you can pass on the treasures that we share here. And I must tell you, if you're a man, don't feel uncomfortable, because whatever we talk about in this show, it is no doubt applicable to your life as well. So stay with us, don't leave, stay with us. Now, this evening, all about you. We are coming off the heels of the celebration of love across the world. This evening, we are talking about loving you. However, before you can even think about loving you, you need to know you. So we have an expert in the house, as we usually do. We have an expert. Welcome, Roxy. Welcome. We have an expert in the house, and she'll be taking us through today's program, Talk Truth program. If we have any Jamaicans on, you would no doubt be familiar with the phrase, "Me know you like my hand miggle." For all of you who do not understand patois, Jamaican patois, it's essentially saying, I know you like the palm of my hands. But how many of us can really say we know ourselves? How many of us can say we know ourselves like our palm? We're going to be talking about that. Now, with us, the expert with us is Dr. Dadria Lewis. Dadria, first of all, she's a Christian. She is married with children. Deidre is very humble. As a matter of fact, your usual driver, Popsan, told me, listen, when I approached her, she doesn't like the limelight. She's an expert, but she doesn't like it. But guess what? She loves people, and that trumps everything. She has over 13 years of experience in her field. She is an expert in mental health, counseling, education. She had led numerous seminars on promoting wellness, resilience, promoting better intra and interpersonal relationships, better parent child relationships. She has run seminars on helping to promote people's understanding of who they are, who they were meant to be, understanding their personality. And that is why she's in the house this evening, because we are talking about think you know you, getting to know you again. That's what we're talking about. Of course, she is raring to go. I know she's going to be dropping some talk truth treasure this evening. So welcome, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. It's nice to be here with the Talk Truth family. And I am looking forward to sharing with you and having a wonderful moment in time with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. Now, let's get right into it. Many times people will say, I am not the person I used to be. Many times people will say to others, you have changed. You have changed. I can't tell how, but you have changed. We want to unpack that this evening. Many times we say, listen, we need to find our passion. We need to find our purpose. But how can we find our passion? How can we find our purpose if we don't even know who we are? The first question I want to put to you today, Dr. Lewis, is this. I want you to paint a picture of somebody who is aware of who they are. But you're not going to leave it there. I want you to also paint a picture of somebody who is unaware of who they are. Tell us, how would those two individuals look?
Okay. All right. So let's say we're looking at somebody who knows who they are. Somebody, maybe we'll call her um uh
Kim. Let's say she's
Kim.
Kim.
Okay, we'll call her Kim. So Kim knows who she is. She is aware of who her what her purpose is here. When you see Kim, Kim is confident. Kim knows her strengths. She also is aware of her weaknesses and she's not fooled by them. She's aware of them and she's also working on improving them or finding ways to support them or working with other persons who have strengths that balance those weaknesses. Kim has emotional intelligence, meaning that she's aware of her emotions. She's aware of how her emotions impact other people, and she's able to pick up on what other person's emotions are in a situation where they're relating. Kim is also has boundaries, healthy boundaries, meaning that she doesn't, there's not a wall between you and Kim, but there you can't just jump into Kim's life. You have to be vetted, you have to be trustworthy, you have to be somebody who is honest, and the various things that she's looking for, and she knows what she's looking for in persons who she wants to involve in her life. And so she will allow you in if you fit those characteristics, and she'll keep you at a distance if you don't. Kim also knows what is valuable to her, what is important, the things that she's going to go after, the things that she's going to leave alone. And she has an idea of what her attitudes and opinions are on various things. So Kim is a well-rounded person who understands the different aspects of her personality. And she understands, as he mentioned, strengths, weaknesses, her emotions, her values, her attitudes, has healthy boundaries, and is able to interact healthily, in a positive way overall with persons. Now,
You said
somebody on
something
Mhm.
before you go to the next person who is unaware. You said something, and I think that's a talk truth treasure right there. You said, listen, not only is Kim aware of who she is as a person, but Kim is also aware of what kind of energy, the type of individuals that she allows in her circle. And that's very important, because knowing who you are, it doesn't stop at knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, but also knowing who you're going to allow within your space. Powerful. Let's talk about the other individual. Let's say her
Okay.
name is
I
Susie.
don't want to name her because somebody out there might have that name. I
Okay, all
don't
right.
want to give them.
Unnamed person. Jane
So
Doe.
this unnamed person, she is not sure of who she is. She has a false sense maybe of her strengths and does not want to even look at what her weaknesses are. So she is either unaware of her weaknesses or not wanting to accept them, or rejects them or suppresses them. So instead of growing through those or improving on them, she suppresses them, pushes them to the side, and doesn't want to deal with it. On the other, in addition to that, emotionally, she's not able to regulate her emotions well. So she's not sure sometimes what she's even feeling. So she may blow up or withdraw, and doesn't have necessarily a healthy way of reacting to situations. And sometimes she's not even sure what she's feeling. She just knows she's feeling, and she's not sure she can't name them, name the emotions necessarily, or identify them. She is someone who is not sure of what is important. She can be pulled hither and yon by persons and people around her. And then she may, there can be two extremes where her boundaries are so porous that every and anybody can come into her space. And that is where, she can get into issues with persons manipulating her, or, taking advantage of her. Or her boundaries are so inflexible that there's a wall. She doesn't allow anybody in. So there's no trust with anybody. There are very few, if any, healthy relationships with other persons out there. So someone who doesn't know herself, doesn't know her strength, doesn't know her worth, doesn't know who to let in and who to keep out, and can be pulled in many directions, doesn't really have a path that she's necessarily following, and doesn't and lacks self-esteem, lacks confidence in herself.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. If you're just joining, welcome to episode 9, season 2. Today we're talking about the very, very crucial topic, getting to know you again. Dr. Lewis is an assistant professor, she's a counselor, and she has just essentially painted a picture for us of someone who is aware of who they are, Kim, someone who is not aware of who they are, remains nameless for obvious reasons. I want our talk with family. Do you think you know who you are? If yes, I want you to drop an adjective, drop us a line in the comment section below and tell us who you are. While you do that, let's get into the next question, Dr. Lewis. I have experienced trauma. I say, listen, I experienced it. It's in the past. I shook it off. I've buried my emotions, and I've been good ever since. Is this possible?
So you use two key terms. I shook it off. I buried my emotions. So it's not impacting me anymore. Now, if you've shaken it off and you've buried it, that means that you've not dealt with it. And that means that it's going to come back at some point and impact your relationships. Now, to figure out if it's actually impacting you, or if you've actually dealt with it, you need to ask yourself some questions in particular areas. How am I thinking? Are there parts of me that I have suppressed? Because you say you've buried it. So if you've buried the trauma, have you buried pieces of who you are? Are there parts of you that you don't allow to shine, that you don't allow to be? So if you've buried it, then you've not really dealt with it. What is your thinking? What are your relationships like? Do you have trust with people, healthy trusting relationships? Do you have a healthy self-esteem? Or do you think and speak, negatively to yourself many times? How are your intimate relationships with friends, intimate relationships with your partner, the person you're going to marry, the person you're dating? What is that relationship like? What are your connections? When you look at power and control, do you feel like you have power and control over your own life, over your own self? Now, if you're answering many of these questions in the negative, then I'm thinking you have buried it, but you have not dealt with it. And it may be shaken off, but it's still sitting at your feet. So it is something that you may need to address and deal with for it to really be something that you've grown through and incorporated in a healthy way, and have what's the word now, moved forward, or are moving forward in your journey of wellness.
Dr. Lewis, thank you for that, because I know there are many individuals here, perhaps this evening, who are saying, listen, yes, I've experienced trauma, but I'm good. I'm winning at life still. But you just highlighted that though you might appear to be winning at life, the mere fact that you would have buried some emotions, it begs the question, what else have you also buried with it? Let us talk about trauma. So when we think of trauma, immediately we conjure up negative images in our mind. I want you to tell us, how does trauma affect one's sense of personhood? Is it always negative? Can it be positive? If both, tell us the impact that trauma has on our sense of personhood.
Okay, so many times when we think about trauma, we hear about the negative impact. We hear about the negative impact in on our body and emotions when we have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, where you have nightmares, insomnia, you may have fear, shame, maybe feeling suicidal, shock, feeling guilty. Then it impacts your thinking in the sense that it impacts how your belief in yourself, belief in other people, belief in the world, how you see the world. And so in that sense, we see a lot of the negative, or hear a lot of the negative sides of it. Now, in which year was this? No, in 1998, Calhoun and Tedici, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name properly, they coined the phenomenon called post-traumatic growth, where you see individuals who seem to benefit from trauma in the sense that coming out of trauma, you see the person growing spiritually. You see the person developing strengths because they're coping in a positive way with the particular trauma. So they've developed positive coping strategies, or mechanisms. They have reaffirmed maybe their purpose on earth. You see them a newfound appreciation for life. You see personal growth, people developing their strengths, developing new skills, developing in different areas, taking on risks and growing. So coming out of trauma, there can be growth depending on how it was handled, what comes out of it. So there can be positives and there can be negatives, and how it impacts you as a person is are you building on yourself? Are you building your strengths? Are you building a sense of who you are, a sense of what's important, a sense of your values, your attitudes? So if it's positive, then you can see building those things up. If we are having those more negative impacts, then you can see that it's pulling away a little, our pieces at a time, of different parts of our person, of who we are as people. You see, pulling away at our trust, pulling away at our self-esteem, maybe pulling away at our sense of security, or sense of intimacy and connection with others, or pulling away at our sense of being in charge of ourselves. So I hope I've answered the question.
You have. In fact, you have elevated our thinking a bit, because usually when we hear of post-traumatic, the next word that will come is disorder or stress. But now you have introduced a new concept, post-traumatic growth. And a part of getting to know you again is getting to know both the positives and the negative impact that would have surfaced as a result of a traumatic experience. The truth is, whenever we go through trauma, the result is not always negative. The
Some
result is
people,
not always positive. It may
right,
be a mix. So if you
right.
are getting to know you again, you have to get a good grasp that you perhaps you are experiencing post-traumatic growth. But of course, you're also experiencing the ills of the trauma. So getting a good grasp of those two ideologies, you need to know them. I want us to talk a bit about how you deal with the emotions of the past. And this is a hard one. How do you deal with the emotions of the past in order to move forward? And let me just expound on that a little, Doc. Is it always necessary? Because it's painful. Is it always necessary for us to deal with the emotions of the past in order to move forward? Can't we just move forward and done? Can't we just move forward and get it over with? It
Overweight,
would be
right?
so much easier.
It would be so much easier. It would be wonderful and awesome many times. But if we look at it, we can see where the trauma is impacting our life presently. We can see where it is impacting our relationships, how we relate to our siblings or husband, wife, partner, boyfriend, or how it impacts how we interact with our colleagues, if we trust people in general or we don't trust people at all. We can see those things happening. So if we don't address the emotions, then we are not able to now say, oh, build in these areas many times because we are suppressing those emotions. We don't want to deal with them. Then we're not able to do the growth or the work that we need to do to move forward. And we're not saying you're going to sit and wallow in it. And what we're saying is that is to reconnect with your emotions, um, reconnect with your feelings, re-examine your thoughts and thinking when emotions, when things come up, to sit in it and accept it. We're not saying to prefer it or to like it, but to accept it and to show compassion to yourself. That's a bit, I think the foundation is to start showing some compassion to ourselves and some love to ourselves. You know, when other people are going through a hard time, we're there for them. We want to support them on all of that. So we're saying turn that around and do some of that for you as well. So that now you can start reconnecting with who you are. That little girl that's inside, that's hurt, we reconnect with that little girl. We are able to now say, okay, it's okay to have felt sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel betrayed. It's okay. Those emotions are okay. They are safe. But then we need to find a safe way to express them. And that's why in this journey, many times it's good to have a therapist to walk with you through that journey as you are reconnecting with those emotions, because sometimes they can flood and feel too much, can overwhelm you. Um, and it can be overwhelming. Dr. Andrea Brandt, I was reading some of what she was writing as it relates to trauma. And she says, if you're going to try this out on your own a little bit, start with things that weren't so horrific. Start with emotions or thoughts or events that, you know, that you start at the bottom of the scale and look at the events, look at the feeling, sit in it, feel the feeling, um, acknowledge it, accept that it is there, and then you recall it, sit in it, sense it, name the emotion, because many times the flood comes and there's many emotions and we're not sure what they are. Name them, list them one by one, and love yourself. Love you. I am feeling angry, I'm feeling anxious, but I still love who I am. Because many times we have those negative that negative voice at the back of the head saying you are not worthy, you are you are bad, you are dirty, you are the cause of it, you are. So we're going to silence that voice and turn on the voice of love and compassion, and turn. If you are a Christian, I know the Bible is such a wonderful place to go to be reaffirmed as a child of God, as somebody important. I knew you, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. So that love and compassion, loving yourself, and looking at the lessons you've learned. Share it. Not, you don't have to share it with somebody. You can just write it down. Write down what you're feeling, the anger, the whatever. Write it down. Write it out, and then you could burn it. It doesn't have to go to anybody else's ears or face, and begin letting it go. And then you can go to the next level and the next level. But many times it's good to walk through that journey with a therapist.
Dr. Lewis, you know, you're saying it, and I know that somebody, perhaps one of our talk to family members, they're saying, listen, easier said than done.
I know. This is not an easy journey, and it is not it's a marathon. It is not a sprint. And it is, and on some days you're going to be doing really great, and then on other days you're not going to be doing so great at all. But you are worth the journey.
So Roxanne is asking, how can I reconnect with the me whom I've lost in trauma? Roxy, you're preempting us a little bit because our next question is going to go right into it. So don't go anywhere. If perhaps you're just joining us, we are talking about getting to know you again. We have spoken quite a bit. We have described someone who knows themselves. We have described somebody who is unaware of who they are. We have described the fact that, listen, traumatic experiences, they can have positives. You can actually grow through trauma, but there are also negatives, and it's important for you to get a good grasp, a good understanding, comprehensive understanding of those positives and negatives that would have surfaced as a result of the trauma. We've also gone a bit into sense of personhood. How do you view you? We have spoken about, listen, why do I have to go back to the past? Why do I have to deal with emotions of the past in order to move forward? After all, I don't want to relive the traumatic experience. Isn't that counterproductive? Doc would have just alluded to the fact that no, it's a necessary, yes, it's hard, but it's a necessary step in getting to know you again. Doc, on the heels of Roxy's question, so we spoke about, you know, accepting the emotions of the past. We spoke about accepting the negatives. We've spoken about, you know, just ensuring that you understand. Hi, Stefan, welcome. Just ensuring that you pause to understand how the trauma would have affected you. I want you to give us some practical tips, because when the rubber hits the road, we are not getting theoretical. We want some practical tips of how we can accept what would have happened to us, and how we can essentially now be real survivors of trauma, so that we can launch into our God-given potential and live a purposeful life. Give us some practical tips of how we can achieve that.
So I'm going to touch on Roxanne's question a little bit, and then segue that into your question. Sure. She's asking about how can I reconnect with myself. What is the question again?
How can I reconnect with myself? How can I reconnect with myself?
Me, who I lost in trauma. Okay. All right. So many times we want to go back to that person instead of incorporating the trauma in between. So a part of reconnecting to that person is knowing who that person was, accepting that person. What are the strengths of that person? What are the awesomeness of that person? What was that person? And then look at how that person, you have grown, have moved, the things that have happened to you through this trauma, and know where you are on the other side. How can I now incorporate those things of that person that I want now? And then how can I with the experiences that I have had, with the learning that I have had, what am I going to add on top of that? Is that making, I hope that's making sense, or Roxanne, or answering our question. So you're pulling from what was before, the awesome characteristics that you had before, you have not had before, that you still have, that you may not be tapped into, but pulling back on the, okay, so I was really good singer, I was really good at expressing myself, I was really good at, these are the things about me, I'm a compassionate person, I'm a caring person, that's who I am, I've not stopped being that person. And then now you're adding on top of it what you've learned through the other lived experiences of your life, the trauma being one of them. The trauma is not the all, it's not, it does not define you. It's just a part of the definition of you, but not all of it. So pull back on those things and add on to it now what you've learned and where you've grown. So Janielle is asking about some practical things to do as
Before
we're
you get to that, before
yeah.
you get to the practical tips, I just have a follow-up to Roxy's question. Many times, as survivors of trauma, they find themselves being in a space where they're stuck in that phase before the trauma happened. So based on what Roxy would have asked and what you would have said, is it a case where can you move forward? Can you draw on those positive attributes? Draw on the fact that you're a good singer, draw on the fact that you were caring, kind, compassionate. Can you draw on those positives without being stuck in that phase that happened before the trauma?
Without being stuck in the when you said the phase, meaning what? The
Your understanding of who you were.
who you were. Okay, because now you're probably an adult. So now you have to look at those things with an adult's eye. So this is going to take self-reflection. Now, what does this look like as a grown-up? What does being caring and compassionate look like now as a grown-up? What does being a great singer look like now? Do I want to sing even? You have to ask yourself that question. So you're now interpreting those things through the eyes of a grown-up and through the experiences you've had. Am I hitting
Yes,
on
yes.
the question you're asking? So you're so don't get stuck in wanting that back. What you want is something that you're going to add to, because you can't be there anymore, because you've had life, you've learned, you've observed things, you've had experiences, some good, some horrific, and some wonderful. So how are you going to add that now to the ingredients of who you are? So you're going to be new and improved, the new and improved from before.
Got you. Thank you so much, Doc. So we're going to talk about the practical tips to wrap up talk through this evening. But before you get to that, I want to engage the minds of our audience a little bit. While Doc is speaking about the practical tips, I would like to challenge you all, challenge us all, Doc included, challenge us all to a 40-day challenge. And this challenge is know and love you. Based on the practical tips that Doc will share with us right now, ending March 29, I think that's where the 40-day period will end. Ending March 29, every single day, you're going to practice one of those tips that Doc will be sharing with us right now, ensuring that you are committed to this challenge. And even if you can grab an accountability partner, that would also be great. This is a know and love yourself challenge for the next 40 days. You're going to take a tip that Doc will share right now. You're going to incorporate it daily, not weekly, daily, so that it becomes a habit. So Doc, go. Let's hear the practical tips.
Okay. So many times persons who've been traumatized or who've had childhood trauma, they have people around them who know of it, family members, etc. And many of them help to keep you stuck in it, because they start defining you by it. They start talking you like you are it. So sometimes you may have to distance yourself from toxic people, creating those healthy boundaries. We're not saying fling away your family. We're saying put a healthy space in between. If they're going to be toxic, then you're like, okay, if you're going to be talking like this or being like this at this moment, I cannot be a part of this conversation at this moment. I cannot be here. But we can talk about something else at another time. So removing or distancing yourself from toxic people and finding positive, supportive persons. Seek out support. So you may already have somebody who is like your want to say that's an American parlance, ride or die person, that person who is in your corner for you. Then you seek out that person, because that person is usually the one who's going to help to build you up. The times when you feel negative, feel like you're getting down, that person is there to be your cheerleader and to cheer you on. And sometimes you don't have that yet. You haven't figured that out yet. So you're like, how can I trust people again? How can I figure this out? So you need to start making, do some self-reflection, figuring out what's important to you. What are characteristics of people that I should trust? Pay attention to your gut feelings. Pay attention to when you are in a situation that makes you uncomfortable. Pay attention to those things. And then maybe if you're not sure, if you can't assess the situation properly, look around. Do you see somebody who you think is has healthy relationships, who has a healthy trusting relationships with people, who has a healthy relationship? Go and interview them. How do you know who to trust? What are some characteristics of trustworthy people that you have in your life? So that could be your way of building and figuring out that trust piece of it. If you don't have that person already, or if you can't figure it out yourself because your boundaries are not so wonderful at this time. You might have boundaries that are too open, where every and anybody can come in, or maybe your boundaries are so inflexible, there's a big wall, nobody can come in. So try. I'm asking you to try that experiment. Either you make your own list or go and interview somebody and try to figure out, how can I find trustworthy people, so you can build that support system around you. Get sleep. If you're not sleeping, then it affects your physical health, it affects your mental health, it affects how you can deal with any issues related to your trauma that may come up or show its head at any point in time. Get rest. Take care of your physical body as well. Look at your diet. How are you eating? Eat in a healthy way, or and start learning about healthy eating. And I know you can't do everything all at once. So choose, okay, I'm going to eat healthy at breakfast time for this week. And then you choose lunch another time, or I'm going to drink more water. Something that, because a healthy body also contributes to a healthy mind and a healthy feeling of a sense of who, yeah, sense of who you are. Yeah, when your mind and your body feel clear, then you are clear. Um a part of it is if realizing that you are safe, in the sense that when you have those thoughts that come up, um that you may need to stop them. So another practical thing, that thought stopping. When those negative thoughts start coming up in your mind, those negative I'm not worthy, I'm not, I can't do it, I am not, then you say, no, stop. I am a child of God. I am a woman of excellence. I'm a woman of worth. I was worth Christ dying on the cross for me. I have, and you can list now your different strengths that you sat down and started to enumerate. That's another thing you can do. Sit down and enumerate your strengths. What are you good at? And then look at your opportunities. Those are what people may call your weaknesses, your opportunities for growth. Okay, what area am I going to choose to grow in? And look at that and choose one and pursue that particular area for growth. I think those are the main ones that I had outlined. Get I'm saying doing some self-reflection. Self-reflection is important. because this is how you're going to start figuring out what's important to you, what your values are, what you value, and being able to uh say no when you need to say no, or know when you need to back out of particular situations. Know what your values are, what's important to you. Do a personality inventory. There are so many free ones online. There's this one that I've done, and it's free. It's based on the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. So it's a free version of it. You can find it on 16personalities.com, a free personality test. And you can go through that, and that can help you to start looking at, oh, these are my traits. Oh, these are some, it enumerates your traits, your strengths, and your opportunities in clear ways that you can maybe now start navigating and putting like your purpose together. Janelle, I think those are the ones I have to share. I hope that's helpful for
That was a mouthful. That was certainly a mouthful. And we have quite a lot to work with for our 40-day Know You, Love You challenge. Doc, thank you so much. I'm inviting our family members. I am in. Roxy's in. Yes, Roxy's in the challenge. She's accepting it. She is going to love herself and she is going to know herself. I'm inviting our WHT family to drop your questions. We're about winding down right now. So drop your questions. Doc is here. You literally have her at your fingertips. Ask her all the tough questions you've had in mind. Just pick her brain. Ask her how you can get to know you again. Ask her the questions. If you're just joining us, unfortunately, you've missed quite a bit, but you can always watch the recording. We have said, listen, we're going to go down this path together as a Talk Truth family, as a WHT family. We're accepting this challenge. Know you, love you. Doc shared some practical tips: avoiding toxic people, knowing when to say no, knowing when to stop that negative thought process that will say, you are not, you are not, you are not, stopping it right in the middle. Getting enough rest, self-reflection, getting a list of what are the characteristics of individuals you can trust if you have that challenge. If you don't know, ask someone, Doc said. There's no shame in the game. It's all about ensuring that you're developing you. Ask someone who you perceive to have healthy relationships. What is it they look for in people who they can trust? Doc would have mentioned also do a personality inventory test. There are millions of them online. Grab one. We're going to do this for the next 40 days because we are working on us. And the beautiful thing about these tips, Dr. Lewis, is that they are not only applicable to individuals who would have experienced trauma. They are applicable to anyone, man, woman, boy, girl. They can be applied. So we have essentially now expanded our challenge and we've included everybody. So Popsan, when she gets back into the seat, the driver's seat, she will be checking up on the progress of your challenge. Doc, thank you so much for sharing your expert knowledge with us, sharing valuable insights of how we can get to know us again. We also want to thank our Talk to His family for joining us this evening. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interactions. Thank you for staying with us. We know that the next Talk Truth will be the first Wednesday in March. And incidentally, it's right ahead of International Women's Day, so you don't want to miss that. If you have not subscribed to the channel as yet, I invite you to do so now. Just click the word subscribe. It's toward the right below this video. Click the bell, click all. That way you don't miss a notification whenever we go live. You do not miss whenever we post new content. We have spoken quite a bit about getting to know you. We hope that it would have contributed to your understanding of your personhood a little better, even if it's a little bit better. And we do hope that you will practice the tips that Doc would have shared toward the end there. As Popstan always says, we can't end without saying this. As Popstan always says, we heal so much better when we heal together. So much better when we heal together. So until next time, stay safe, and we will see you on the 3rd of March, just ahead of International Women's Day, when we'll continue the healing conversation. Thanks to everybody who would have contributed. Thanks to Bahi, or sound engineer, for making everything possible. Thank you so much. And well, good. Be safe and continue to heal. Continue to be empowered.